as Hurricane Katrina pounds Louisiana and Mississippi. Stay with 11 News for the most complete coverage of this killer storm. Live reports throughout the day and night, showing you the latest pictures of the devastation. From the eye of the storm to Katrina's impact on Houston, 11 News has more reporters covering this story from every angle. And turn to hurricane expert Dr. Neil Frank for the most reliable track of Katrina. For the most up-to-the-minute coverage of Katrina, trust 11 News. Now, getting you out the door with everything you need to know. This is 11 News This Morning.
The city of Houston rolls out the welcome mat to thousands of hurricane evacuees from the New Orleans Superdome.
We'll have a live report from the Astrodome, plus live reports from Louisiana on the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining 11 News This Morning. I'm Deborah Duncan.
And I'm Ron Trevino. Let's start the morning off with a look at the weather and meteorologist David Paul.
Well, the heat just continues for the next several days, guys. By the second half of the weekend, we may see a little drop in the humidity. Right now, radar outside is quiet. I've got one little shower offshore, and that is it. Bush Continental, 76 degrees, 94% relative humidity, dew point at 74. Calm winds, 29.91 on the barometer. Forecast for the day, I've got a 20% chance for scattered showers today. High temperature of 97 today, and just a hot and humid afternoon coming up.
The time is now 5:01. The mayor of New Orleans says there will be a total evacuation of the city. Mayor Ray Nagin says most of his city is still underwater. That's evident from these pictures shot yesterday from our helicopter, Air 11. Mayor Nagin has ordered 1,500 police officers to end search and rescue efforts so they can restore law and order. And the first buses carrying hurricane evacuees from New Orleans has arrived in Houston. The city is trying to move 25,000 evacuees from the Superdome to the Astrodome.
11 News reporter Reggie Key is live at the Astrodome with more this morning. Good morning, Reggie.
Good morning. These buses started to arrive very early this morning. We have so far only seen a trickle of them coming through. But just imagine this parking lot full of 500 FEMA buses coming from New Orleans to Houston. Of course, the Astrodome was designed to hold a lot of fans, but never designed to hold so many people for such a long term. They lined up along the Astrodome fence all night, some of them as greeters.
That's what this is all about, welcome neighbors.
Some of them not content with the view from outside.
There are a lot of people that drove out here from New Orleans that have their Louisiana IDs. They're stranded here. No one is helping them. No one is letting them get into the dome. They are as much entitled to go into that dome as anybody coming in on a bus.
At 12:30, the first buses started rolling in. Louisiana residents outside the gates stared into those windows, wondering if perhaps one of the seats was filled with a relative they hadn't heard from for days. Inside the Astrodome, the Red Cross set up cots along the floor.
It's not a very personal facility. We're trying to turn it into something that can actually cope with the needs of more than 20,000 people. I'm told the numbers may actually go up.
The place where the Astros and Oilers once played, now a shelter of last resort. They're trying to make this facility as comfortable as they can for these people, but they readily admit that they can only do so much. They're going to put TV screens around the place showing programming for both the adults who of course want to watch the news and the kids who want to be entertained by something other than hurricane footage. SBC is here this morning. They are going to install 1,000 phone lines so some of these folks can finally try and get in touch with their relatives, many of whom are now in other areas surrounding Houston. Reporting live at the Astrodome, Reggie Key, 11 News.
Because thousands of people will be staying at the Astrodome, people running the makeshift shelter could use all the help they can get. If you're able to donate some spare time, you can log on to www.harriscountycitizencorps.com. Then click on Join HCCC now.
As the death toll rises in Louisiana and Mississippi, it looks like Hurricane Katrina could end up being the worst natural disaster in this nation's history. Allison Harmelin is in the New Orleans area with the latest overnight developments.
With looting out of control, floodwaters pouring through broken levees, and no signs of conditions improving, the mayor of New Orleans says he's had no choice but to evacuate his entire devastated city. And it's not a minute too soon for some.
Worst days of my life. We have been homeless, stranded.
Overnight, the first bus of refugees arrived at the Astrodome in Houston.
We had to beg for this ride to get on over here. I mean, we was underwater, everything, nobody helped.
Many of those still in New Orleans have been looting uncontrollably, and police are cracking down. They've been ordered to stop rescue operations and focus on keeping the peace. In Washington, President Bush promised disaster relief and offered words of comfort.
The challenges that we face on the ground are unprecedented. But there's no doubt in my mind we're going to succeed.
In coastal Mississippi, the challenges are also unprecedented. Rescue crews still haven't reached some hard-hit areas, and when they do, the death toll is almost certain to rise. Those who have survived are often living in desperate circumstances.
This will make you cry, you know. I've had people come up to me and say, Mayor, I don't have a house. What am I going to do?
By the time the floodwaters recede from Louisiana and Mississippi, the number of drowned victims could make this America's deadliest natural disaster in a century. And no one knows how long it will take New Orleans to rebound and rebuild from a virtual state of ruin. In Kenner, Louisiana, Allison Harmelin, 11 News This Morning.
Some neonatal babies from New Orleans may still have a shot at life thanks to an area charter service. Pilots for American Jet International flew into the flooded city to pick up the newborns and bring them here to Houston. All of the babies are less than a month old and in very delicate condition. Since the newborns need major TLC, the pilots made sure to give them a first-class ride.
We're allowed to operate under lifeguard rules. In other words, we can declare a lifeguard emergency. We're getting priority handling as far as airspeed, altitudes, just handling in general, so we can expedite getting to the patient to the requesting facility here.
All the babies received constant medical attention from doctors and nurses during the trip. Many parents were also able to fly with them. Houston's Methodist Hospital is getting ready for patients from New Orleans. The patients are either being airlifted or brought by bus. Methodist Hospital has plenty of beds and is able to accommodate at least 150 extra patients. The medical staff says they are ready because they conduct several disaster drills every year.
It's now 5:07. We continue to track the arrival of hurricane evacuees from the Superdome to the Astrodome. Coming up, another live update from Evacuee.
Also find out the federal response to the aftermath of Katrina.
Accurate, constantly updated. Weather and traffic updates are just seconds away on 11 News This Morning.
The time is 5:10. President Bush cut his vacation short and got a chance to look at what Katrina left behind, one of the worst natural disasters in our nation. Meg Oliver is in Washington, D.C. and tells us what the federal government is doing to help in this heartbreaking disaster.
Air Force One flew low over New Orleans, giving President Bush a look at what Katrina left behind.
We are dealing with one of the worst natural disasters in our nation's history.
The president cut short his Texas vacation to get back to Washington and lay out a federal response plan.
Our first priority is to save lives.
The Coast Guard and FEMA have already made thousands of rescues and will continue the search for survivors.
FEMA is also moving supplies and equipment into the hardest hit areas as quickly as possible. Truckloads of water, ice, meals, medical supplies, generators, tents, and tarpaulins.
The Navy will help by sending 4 ships loaded with emergency supplies. The USS Comfort Hospital ship is on the way, and by Friday, some 21,000 National Guard troops should be in the region.
We're going to go down there and help assist with search and rescues, help out local law enforcement, and do the best we can.
The president pledged a comprehensive recovery effort. He said it would take years and would start with restoring communications, power, and repairing roads. He also signed off on a plan to release oil from emergency stockpiles after Katrina disrupted production in the Gulf. The administration must still put a price tag on this effort and ask Congress for the money. The president urged Americans to help by sending cash contributions to the Red Cross. Meg Oliver for CBS News, Washington.
Several trucks full of relief supplies are rolling down I-10. 11 News reporter Nancy Holland has more on long haulers who have to keep on trucking and the cargo of relief that they are carrying.
I-10 has always been a pipeline. Now it is a lifeline. Generators.
We're just gonna do the best we can to keep it going, keep it moving out there.
Building supplies.
I think it's going towards New Orleans for the construction for New Orleans.
A driver who's picking up a load from Mississippi tomorrow will also pick up a special permit for drivers hauling relief.
Today, the president, he lifted the ban up on our driving hours. We can drive as many hours it takes to get these people what they need.
They are determined to keep rolling.
One man tells us he had breakfast this morning with a guy hauling medical supplies to New Orleans. And a man from New Orleans tells us he's waiting for a load, hoping that he gets to go home. Only he doesn't really think he's going to have a home to go to.
That's not so hard to find. That driver hauling generators knows his home flooded.
But I don't know how much damage is done, and when I finish my job, I go down there and check on the home, and that's all we can do.
The driver from Kenner will do the same.
I just try to go back and see what's going on, what if the house is still in the same place where I left it or not.
The end of the road may bring relief for many, but only the reality of tragedy for some who are driving the lifeline. Nancy Holland, 11 News.
Truckers and other drivers have one more challenge to deal with: the rising cost of gasoline. We've checked around town and found sticker shock, $3 a gallon. At Randall's and Kroger's across the street from each other in Northwest Harris County raised prices $3.31 a gallon for regular unleaded. It's not much cheaper at an Exxon in the Galleria area, where unleaded is now going for $3.19 a gallon. You may not find cheaper prices anytime soon, but President Bush has taken steps to help deal with a gas shortage. First, he called on the U.S. Energy Department to release oil from federal petroleum reserves and loan it to refineries. Then he granted a nationwide waiver for fuel blends. Each of these things is designed to make more gas available. The news also helped to calm fears after reaching $70 this week. The price of crude oil dipped yesterday by 87 cents to close at $68.94.
The time is 5:17. Earlier, 11 News reporter Reggie Evacuee told us about the first group of hurricane evacuees arriving at the Astrodome.
He joins us again from the Astrodome with an update. Reggie.
We just saw a couple more buses pass by us. Not sure if those are ones that were just coming from another part of the parking lot or if they're actually new arrivals from the Superdome. So far, we've seen less than 10 come in, so this is going to be a very long morning because we're expecting up to 500 buses coming from FEMA from the New Orleans site of the Superdome here to the Astrodome in Houston. Now, these folks, once they arrive here, are going to be checked out. They're going to be given cots, and right now they have a lot of the cots already spread out along the floor of the Astrodome. Also, they're going to be given the chance to make some phone calls. SBC is installing about 1,000 phone lines here so that these folks can finally try to get in touch with the relatives who have been waiting a few days now to hear if they're okay. Certainly, it's not going to be the Ritz-Carlton. I don't think any of these people from the Superdome expect it to be, but it will certainly be more comfortable than what they had in New Orleans. Of course, over there they had a leaky roof during the height of the hurricane, and since then they haven't had any electricity, which meant no air conditioning and the same type of 100-degree weather that we've had here in Houston. We'll be on this story throughout the morning, so check in with us as more buses come in from New Orleans. Reporting live at the Astrodome, Reggie Evacuee, 11 News.
The time is 5:18. Evacuees from New Orleans are all over the Houston area this morning.
Now getting you out the door with everything you'll need to know. This is 11 News This Morning.
Oh, man, Lord, I'm living. You know, I'm blessed to be here today, on the real.
The first group of hurricane evacuees from the New Orleans Superdome are now in Houston. This is 11 News This Morning, our 5 o'clock hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Deborah Duncan.
And I'm Ron Trevino. The time is now 5:31. All night and all morning, we've been watching buses full of evacuees drive into the parking lot of the Astrodome.
As many as 25,000 evacuees from the New Orleans Superdome will eventually call the Astrodome home for a while. 11 News reporter Reggie Evacuee is live with more on this story. Good morning, Reggie.
Good morning, Deborah. And right there, you can see another bus just arriving here at the Astrodome. We expect at least 500 of these buses to come from New Orleans this morning and throughout the afternoon. There could be upwards of 20 to 25,000 people who are going to make the Astrodome their home for, at this point, well, we really don't know how long. In addition to the people arriving inside the dome, there are a bunch of people who have been standing outside all night. They're not here to see if they can get inside the dome. They're here if they can see the people who are coming inside the dome.
We love you, Louisiana.
They lined up along the Astrodome fence all night, some of them as greeters.
That's what this is all about, welcome neighbors.
Some of them not content with the view from outside.
There are a lot of people that drove out here from New Orleans that have their Louisiana IDs. They're stranded here. No one is helping them. No one is letting them get into the dome. They are as much entitled to go into that dome as anybody coming in on a bus.
At 12:30, the first buses started rolling in. Louisiana residents outside the gates stared into those windows, wondering if perhaps one of the seats was filled with a relative they hadn't heard from for days. Inside the Astrodome, the Red Cross set up cots along the floor.
It's not a very personal facility. We're trying to turn it into something that can actually cope with the needs of more than 20,000 people. I'm told the numbers may actually go up.
The place where the Astros and Oilers once played, now a shelter of last resort. There are specific rules the Red Cross has set up when it comes to the Astrodome, and that is that the only people allowed to stay here are the people who are actually coming from the Superdome in New Orleans. Of course, there are many more who wish they could come inside, and already today, a couple of school buses have arrived asking if they can be a part of this group. The Red Cross initially told them no, but then allowed them inside, at least temporarily, to get some water and food. Reporting live at the Astrodome, Evacuee, 11 News.
With as many as 25,000 evacuees coming to the Houston Astrodome, the need for volunteers is greater than ever. If you'd like to help out, you can sign up online at www.harriscountyczitizencorps.com and click on Join HCCC now.
There are now 10 shelters open around Houston to house Katrina evacuees. 9 others are just outside our area. This one at the Gloria Dei Lutheran Church. It almost was filled to capacity an hour after it opened.
We need everybody's help in the United States.
But it's not home.
But no, it's not home, but it's home right now.
The Red Cross says it will continue opening shelters as the need grows. We're running a list of all the Red Cross shelters available in our area and as far away as Huntsville on the bottom of our screen. You can also get that information on our website, KHOU.com.
For hundreds of evacuee children, they are not just starting another school year, but starting a new school. Texas schools have opened their doors to the displaced children so they can regain a sense of normalcy and keep up with their studies as much as they can. Teachers in HISD are expecting to receive thousands of new students, and school officials are trying to make sure they're not overloaded.
We are going to try and limit the amount of students per teacher. You know, if we need to hire more teachers, if we need to bring in more staff, we'll definitely be prepared to do that.
Traditional enrollment requirements such as transcripts and vaccination records have been waived. All parents have to do is take their children to a nearby school and get them enrolled.
Everybody's pitching in to help.
Yeah. Federal officials have declared a public health emergency for the entire Gulf Coast.
Among the things needed is blood, and you can help fill that need by rolling up your sleeves. Today and tomorrow, you can donate blood to the Spirit of Texas Blood Drive. And Jonathan Walton is live at the American General Building near downtown. Jonathan.
All right, Ronnie, we are kicking off the 15th annual Spirit of Texas Blood Drive benefiting the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center. Everyone is in place. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We have all the phlebotomists in place here at the AIG America General Building. It is entrance number 4, 2727 Allen Parkway. I'm standing by with head phlebotomist, if you will, Melvin Kershaw. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You got the machines, we got the people. Now we need people to come on down here and donate.
Come in and start donating.
You can donate blood or you can donate plasma.
Plasma and red blood cells also.
And the need for blood is particularly immense this time of year because A, you got Labor Day weekend coming up.
Right, exactly.
And B, you have the disaster they're dealing with in Louisiana. So we lent them some blood, so we need to replenish our supplies.
Exactly. Yes, we do.
And it's a painless process, isn't it, Melvin?
It is.
It doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
Is there a certain kind of meal you should eat before you come on down here?
No, just try to eat something that is not so high in cholesterol with your fats, you know, your milk products and dairy products and such.
We are live again, Deborah and Ron, at the AIG America General Building, 2727 Allen Parkway. Be here all day till 6 p.m. Or you can donate at any Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center in the Houston area. Guys, back to you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. The time is now 5:58. There's much more ahead on 11 News this morning.
Coming up at 6, Katrina has left behind death, destruction, and increasingly high gas prices in our area. But find out where some Americans are paying more than $6 for a gallon of gas.
Unbelievable. Plus, this little girl wasn't even around when Katrina hit, but from now on, her life will be linked with that storm. Thousands are feared dead in what could be America's deadliest natural disaster in a century. New Orleans leaders ordered the city to be evacuated.
Looting is so out of control that Mayor Nagin ordered virtually the entire police force to abandon search and rescue efforts and focus on violent thieves. Allison Harmon joins us live from Kenner.
Here that help is on the way. Some 10,000 members of the National Guard are on their way here to the region, including some who are being brought back from Iraq. In the meantime, in New Orleans, the evacuations continue and chaos reigns. With looting out of control, floodwaters pouring through broken levees, and no signs of conditions improving, the mayor of New Orleans says he's had no choice but to evacuate his entire devastated city. And it's not a minute too soon for some.
Worst days of my life. We have been homeless, stranded.
Overnight, the first bus of refugees arrived at the Astrodome in Houston.
We had to beg for this ride to get on over here. I mean, we was underwater, everything, nobody helped.
Many of those still in New Orleans have been looting uncontrollably, and police are cracking down. They've been ordered to stop rescue operations and focus on keeping the peace. In Washington, President Bush promised disaster relief and offered words of comfort.
The challenges that we face on the ground are unprecedented. But there's no doubt in my mind we're going to succeed.
In coastal Mississippi, the challenges are also unprecedented. Rescue crews still haven't reached some hard-hit areas, and when they do, the death toll is almost certain to rise. Those who have survived are often living in desperate circumstances.
This will make you cry, you know. I've had people come up to me and say, Mayor, I don't have a house. What am I going to do?
By the time the floodwaters recede from Louisiana and Mississippi, the number of drowned victims could make this America's deadliest natural disaster in a century. And no one knows how long it will take New Orleans to rebound and rebuild from a virtual state of ruin. To give you an example of the chaos in some extreme cases, law enforcement is telling us that looters with guns are actually shooting up at the very airplanes and helicopters that are bringing supplies here to the area. Live in Kenner, Louisiana, I'm Allison Harmelin. Now back to you.
Thank you, Allison. In Mississippi, this beach full of caskets shows just how powerful Katrina was. 150-mile-an-hour winds carried debris for miles. It's not clear where the coffins are from. Health officials in New Orleans are worried about what they'll find in cemeteries there because the city is below sea level. Coffins sit above ground, meaning many grave sites may have been washed away. The time is 6:03. The normally empty eighth wonder of the world is full of people this morning who otherwise had nowhere else to go. 500 buses of evacuees are expected to make the 320-mile trip from the Superdome in New Orleans to the Astrodome today.
11 News reporter Evacuee is live at the Dome with more. Good morning, Reggie.
Good morning. So far, we've seen about a dozen buses come in. They came very early in the morning. Some of them were not supposed to be here. They were school buses that were begging, in fact, to get inside the Astrodome. The county made very specific rules that this place was going to be only for those refugees who are coming from the Superdome, although they're finding it very hard to turn people away.
We love you, Louisiana.
They lined up along the Astrodome fence all night, some of them as greeters.
That's what this is all about. Welcome neighbors.
Some of them not content with the view from outside.
There are a lot of people that drove out here from New Orleans that have their Louisiana IDs. They're stranded here. No one is helping them. No one is letting them get into the dome. They are as much entitled to go into that dome as anybody coming in on a bus.
At 12:30, the first buses started rolling in. Louisiana residents outside the gates stared into those windows, wondering if perhaps one of the seats was filled with a relative they hadn't heard from for days. Inside the Astrodome, the Red Cross set up cots along the floor.
It's not a very personal facility. We're trying to turn it into something that can actually cope with the needs of more than 20,000 people. I'm told the numbers may actually go up.
The place where the Astros and Oilers once played, now a shelter of last resort. The county has cleared the schedule for the Astrodome through December because right now there's no telling how long these folks are going to be here. Reporting live at the Astrodome, Evacuee, 11 News.
With as many as 25,000 people expected at the Astrodome, organizers are looking for as many volunteers as they can get. If you'd like to help, visit the website on your screen, harriscountycitizenscorps.com. The time is now 6:11. Engineers in New Orleans say the water has stopped rising, but that doesn't mean the danger is over.
That city's mayor has said he will completely evacuate the city, and thousands of New Orleans residents are coming to Houston.
And I'm Jonathan Walton. Did you know you could save 3 lives, get a free pint of Bluebell ice cream, and a really cool t-shirt in less than an hour by donating blood at the Spirit of Texas Blood Drive? Here's a t-shirt you'll get. Come on down to the AIG America General Building, entrance 4. Stick around. Really cool.
The time is 6:14. Thousands of people flocked to the funerals today of the nearly 1,000 Shiite pilgrims killed in a stampede during a religious procession. Iraqi officials say most of the dead are women and children. An additional 815 people have been reported injured. The Shiite pilgrims were crossing a bridge when rumor that a suicide bomber among them spread. In the panic, people were trampled and many were thrown into the Tigris River. This is the biggest loss of life since the U.S. troops entered Iraq in March of 2003. Back here at home, the death toll from Katrina is also expected to rise. The federal government is mobilizing one of the largest response efforts in history to help the people and states affected by Katrina.
The folks on the Gulf Coast are going to need the help of this country for a long time. This is going to be a difficult road. The challenges that we face on the ground are unprecedented.
President Bush flew over the devastated Gulf Coast area in Air Force One. The Emergency Management Agency has already deployed 39 medical assistance teams. The Department of Defense is sending 50 choppers and up to 8 Navy ships. 11,000 National Guard troops are already in place.
It's now 6:15. Thousands are feared dead in what could be America's deadliest natural disaster in a century. And while the water has stopped rising, the city is not out of danger yet. 11 News reporter Dave Cassidy joins us from Baton Rouge with more. Good morning, Dave.
Hi, Ron. I guess there is a little good news. You mentioned the water isn't rising anymore, so they're not having to deal with worsening flood waters. But overall, as you can see from the pictures you've been showing all morning, the New Orleans is still 80% or so covered by water. Even the dry places don't have a lot of good news. There's no electricity. The health situation will worsen on the ground as this water stagnates. To some degree, the lake water kind of diluted some of the poisons that we're building as it rushed into the city. Now that's over. There'll be all kinds of health problems here, which is why they want to get people out. The other big problem, looting, it's still going on. They'll now have about 28,000 National Guard troops in all, prepared to try to get that under control, along with the New Orleans police. In the hospitals, they're running out of supplies for some of the people they've rescued and brought to the hospitals. They don't have the oxygen they need to treat them. They're having to make almost life and death decisions now in hospitals. So the situation clearly is very dire, except for those people you're taking in at the Astrodome in the bus caravan that's headed over to Houston. Those folks have been in dank, dark conditions in the Superdome. When they see what you've got for them in the Astrodome with bathrooms and electricity and air conditioning, they're going to feel like they've gone from hell to heaven, frankly. So I think you're going to have some very grateful, if not exhausted, people arriving. And you can't put a value on the hospitality Houston is offering these people right now. It is invaluable. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Dave Cassidy, live in Baton Rouge. And as he was saying, several buses have arrived at the Astrodome this morning full of evacuees in the aftermath of Katrina. More than 20,000 people will now call the Astrodome their temporary home after the mayor ordered everybody out of New Orleans. The Superdome has started flooding after the levees broke. The conditions inside were no longer livable since there was no electricity or working toilets. With as many as 25,000 people expected at the Astrodome, organizers are looking for as many volunteers as they can get. If you'd like to help, visit the website on your screen, harriscountycitizenscorps.com.
Thousands of children have been ripped away from their daily lives in an effort to give the kids some sense of normalcy. Texas schools are anxious to get kids back in the classroom. 11 News reporter Sherman Chow tells us more.
It's the start of another school year, and for some, another school.
What grade are your children in?
7th grade, 3rd grade.
The Hagsteddies and their 3 kids are evacuees from Metairie and a heavily Catholic region.
8 Catholic schools, just like in our immediate neighborhood.
So the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston has opened its doors to Catholic students from the hurricane-ravaged areas.
And seeing how willing you are to accept our kids, because they really need to get back to a sense of normalcy.
Both at Catholic schools and at HISD, traditional enrollment requirements have been waived. So you don't need transcripts or vaccination records. All you need to do is show up at a campus.
They will let you register your children and they can start classes whenever.
The Shrine of the Black Madonna has taken in about 100 refugees, including the Nunnery family. They are grateful for the shelter and now the schooling.
They move so swiftly and that they're being so generous. We can't
and more appreciative than we are. There are no words.
The children, though, have some different words.
I thought this would have been a vacation. It's been cut short, very short.
HISD expects thousands of evacuee students, and they're working on the logistics of space, resources, and who'll pay the tab.
If we need to hire more teachers, if we need to bring in more staff, we're definitely prepared to do that.
I don't have any definite answers for you yet, but we've talked with TSU and we've talked to U of H.
College students don't want to lose academic time either.
We're wondering if our official records are lost. I could call back and say, Mama, I'm in school. You don't have to worry about me.
At least one less thing to worry about. Sherman Chow, 11 News.
By the way, TSU will waive the application fees for storm victims and is working on tuition arrangements. We've also been told 20 New Orleans area students have enrolled at the University of St. Thomas.
Now, 11 News at noon.
My mom is alive!
11 News is there as a woman learns her 82-year-old mother survived Katrina and made it safely to the Astrodome. Good afternoon, I'm Jerome Gray. Thanks for joining us. The buses continue to roll into Houston as Louisiana evacuees make a dome-to-dome move. The remaining storm victims in New Orleans, including the more than 20,000 housed in the Superdome, began being moved to the Astrodome late yesterday. 11 News reporter Reggie Akey is live there to tell us how the transition is going. Reggie?
Jerome, there are already several thousand people inside the Astrodome right now, and by the end of the day, that number is expected to quadruple. Each person who comes in gets one of these bracelets so they can come in and out of the Astrodome. They're also given a security pat-down, and probably the most important thing, they're given, for the first time since Katrina, a safe, cool place to stay. Now it's down to numbers. When the 25,000th bracelet goes around an evacuee's wrist, the Astrodome will close. So many came here early.
No, we caught a ride straight from New Orleans here.
Just after midnight, the school buses were the first to roll in. They were followed next by FEMA buses, and even those by foot made their way to the place the Oilers and Astros once played. No, it's not the Ritz, but the Red Cross is doing its best.
It's not a very personal facility. We're trying to turn it into something that can actually cope with the needs of more than 20,000 people. I'm told the numbers may actually go up.
For some time, the buses stopped completely. That's because shootings near the Superdome in New Orleans forced officials to delay the effort. But by daylight, they rolled in again, many wearing everything they own.
Yeah, this is all. My house, everything gone. All our house is gone. Underwater.
Inside the dome, authorities address priorities, medical ones.
Making sure that we have the opportunity to do some triage, and we have set up an on-site medical facility to address those needs.
And communication concerns.
I can tell you right now that we have increased our phone bank.
For the first time in a week, they'll be able to call a relative, sit in air conditioning, and try to figure out what's after the Astrodome. County officials admit this place was never designed to be a hotel for a long period of time. But still, they've cleared the Astrodome schedule until December, just in case. Reporting live, Reggie Akey, 11 News.
All right, let's go to 11 News reporter Doug Miller, who joins us on the phone from inside the Astrodome. Doug, what can you tell us?
Jerome, I can tell you that inside the Astrodome, right now, the floor is covered with cots, orderly rows of cots. People are coming into the east entrance of the Astrodome, and they're being issued bracelets that will identify them, sort of like those bracelets they hand out at concerts and so on. That will be their ticket in and out of the Astrodome for as long as they have to stay here. The first thing people are asking for when they walk in, we're being told by people who've worked with all of these folks down here, is they're interested in getting into air conditioning, and then they're interested in a shower, and then, of course, they want to rest. It's been a long drive for many of them, and some of them are telling us harrowing tales about how they got here. It's an interesting sight to see the Astrodome, the floor of the Astrodome, where we saw the Astros and the Oilers play a generation ago, now being used as a refuge for people who are fleeing Hurricane Katrina. As I say, it's a very orderly procession. Some very tired Louisianans now laying on the floor of the Astrodome, laying on cots here, actually, and being checked out for any sort of medical problems they had. Earlier today, we saw quite a few ambulances going in, entering and leaving the the Astrodome. That's because so many of these people are showing up here with medical problems. They're simply being ferried, checked out here, and ferried to hospitals. As a matter of fact, I talked to one county official, County Judge Robert Eccles, who said that, in some cases they could practically take whole buses of these people to hospitals. That's the situation inside the Astrodome. We will have pictures of the scene inside the Astrodome later for you. But for the moment, live from the Astrodome, Doug Miller, 11 News.
And with the influx of thousands of new evacuees into the city, there is a great need for volunteers. Astrodome organizers hope you can donate your time. To get information, just go to our website, KHOU.com, and click on the link to the Harris County Citizens Corps. Well, Texas has agreed to take in an additional 25,000 Katrina victims from Louisiana. They will be housed in San Antonio. The request came early this morning from New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin. 11 News reporter Barry Davis has more.
Over the past few days, we've had a lot of refugees coming to San Antonio that came here before Katrina hit in New Orleans. Now we're about to see our first load of refugees since the storm hit. This morning during a city council meeting, Mayor Phil Hardberger had said he'd been contacted by the governor and asked how many refugees we could take out of the 25,000 that they're expecting here. He told him to just send whatever he thought he needed to send. Right now, we're trying to free up space at Freeman Coliseum there because it's air conditioned, and they're also working on getting some air conditioners for some outlying buildings there to help create even more space.
We want to reach out our arms and take our fair share, and that's what I told Governor Perry. We will take the fair share. You allocate them to us, and we'll make sure they're taken care of.
The challenge now for the city is finding enough cots to take into Freeman Coliseum for an untold number of refugees at this point, as well as establishing some method to feed these people as well. In San Antonio, Barry Davis for 11 News.
Now, the government says it's sending in 30,000 National Guard troops, but they won't be on duty for about 3 days. Not good, as we hear at this hour of a very desperate situation at Charity Hospital in New Orleans, where 250 patients and over 1,000 staff are stranded. We just spoke on the phone with Robert Sundin, an associate nursing administrator there, who tells us of the very dire conditions.
We're rationing the little bit of water that we have, and to give you an example of where we are on food, breakfast this morning for the patients consisted of 2 packs of crackers, a package of jelly, and a glass of juice. Yesterday they got a dry cereal with water. For lunch they got a half a cup of tomato juice, and at supper they got a half a cup of 3-bean salad. Toilets, of course, don't work. We had pre-positioned some portalets on each floor. How long those are going to last, I'm not sure. This is truly a war-torn battleground. We have had a few deaths. I don't know that the hurricane and the damage that we have had have really caused those deaths or not, but people are dying.
The federal and local governments in New Orleans have their hands full today, no doubt about that, with looting continuing, thousands of homeless people looking for help, and now gunshots ringing out. 11 News reporter Jennifer Donelon has the latest on the aftermath of Katrina.
The horrific plight of New Orleans just keeps getting worse as thousands are feared dead under the floodwaters and inside shattered buildings.
Try to play games to get our mind off of drowning.
The total evacuation of New Orleans is underway, but convoys moving refugees from the Superdome were disrupted when shots were fired at military helicopters.
It's a desperate situation here.
Gangs are still looting stores around the city. More than 1,000 police officers have left rescue operations to try to reestablish order. But finally, some hope for the Big Easy. The water has stopped rising as the water level in the city has equalized with the surrounding lake and river. But that is little consolation to desperate residents.
I don't know. I just break down every once in a while.
But help is on the way. The federal government is launching one of the largest relief efforts in history. Navy ships and thousands of National Guardsmen are en route. In Mississippi, the flooding is less severe, but the situation is no less desperate.
The streets are totally covered with debris, with lumber, shingles, furniture, clothes, so that you can't see any asphalt for miles and miles around.
However, with great effort, some services will soon be restored. Officials say the water will be going back on, but nearly 1 million people are still without power. And back in New Orleans, the governor says it will be months before residents can return to the city.
This is a family that's
Now, just a few moments ago, the White House said that this is the immediate aftermath of a major catastrophe and that the nation must come together. Also, in order to prevent even more deaths, federal authorities are working at a fever pitch to control the outbreak of disease. Reporting live in Kenner, Louisiana, New Orleans suburb, I'm Jennifer Donnellan. Jerome, back to you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you very much. We want to take you down to these live pictures to the 10,200 block of the East Freeway. This is a social services office where a number of the evacuees from Louisiana are here. They're working right now trying to get government assistance. That's what you see there, people lined up out of that building waiting to get help. Another sign of how Katrina is impacting so many lives in our area. We are getting more information today about entire towns in Mississippi like Waveland being leveled by Katrina. Every single home in the town is destroyed. But even more heartbreaking than the material possessions lost are the loss of loved ones.
I am so worried. I just buried my sister last week. And I've already lost my daughter now. I don't know where my sons are or how they're faring or what they're doing or nothing else. I wish they would contact me.
Tell us their names.
The unofficial death toll in Mississippi is 185. Weary Biloxi, Mississippi residents received a welcome sight last night. Big rigs pulled up filled with water and ice. Residents were allowed to take away as much as they could carry. The lines were long and State Guard troops were on hand to keep the peace, but everyone remained calm. I want to show you now the first pictures we've received inside the Astrodome, which of course has become the home for the thousands of people who were sheltered at the Superdome in New Orleans. As you can see, the cots are all across the floor. A number of people coming in. We're expecting even more as the day moves on. Turning to other news, Houstonians have opened their hearts and their wallets for the hurricane victims during yesterday's Spirit of Texas Hurricane Relief Telethon held right here at the KHOU studios. Organizers raised $6.3 million. Employers like Shell Oil and Chase Bank also made large donations to the cause. Former President George Bush Sr. and former President Clinton may soon team up to raise relief funds for Hurricane Katrina. The former rivals launched a private fundraising campaign after a devastating tsunami hit southern Asia last December. Now the current President Bush is asking the pair to do it again. The three leaders are expected to meet later today to plan the new effort. We also want to let you know about a program you'll want to tune in to Friday night here on Channel 11. From 6:30 to 8 o'clock, we'll bring you Overcoming Katrina, the impact on Houston. You'll see how our community will come together and be affected in the days to come by this hurricane. Well, even those hardest hit by the storms are doing all they can to help. We found some truckers delivering supplies to their fellow citizens. And the Spirit of Texas blood drive is underway. How you can help. As relief supplies head toward the devastated areas, many of them will roll down I-10. 11 News reporter Nancy Holland has more on long haulers who have to keep on trucking and the cargo relief they carry.
I-10 has always been a pipeline. Now it is a lifeline. Generators.
We're just gonna do the best we can to keep it going, keep it moving out there.
Building supplies.
I think it's going towards New Orleans for the construction for New Orleans.
A driver who's picking up a load from Mississippi tomorrow will also pick up a special permit for drivers hauling relief.
Today, the president, he lifted the ban up on our driving hours. We can drive as many hours it takes to get these people what they need.
They are determined to keep rolling.
One man tells us he had breakfast this morning with a guy hauling medical supplies to New Orleans. And a man from New Orleans tells us he's waiting for a load, hoping that he gets to go home. Only he doesn't really think he's going to have a home to go to.
That's not so hard to find. That driver hauling generators knows his home flooded.
But I don't know how much damage is done, and when I finish my job, I go down there and check on the home, and that's all we can do.
The driver from Kenner will do the same.
I just try to go back and see what's going on, whether if the house is still in the same place where I left it or not.
The end of the road may bring relief for many, but only the reality of tragedy for some who are driving the lifeline. Nancy Holland, 11 News.
There is more tropical activity brewing. David Paul has that next.